Welcome to Just Listen Books channel. Immerse yourself in the world of literature as we summarize books and deliver them in audio form. Perfect for your car rides, travels, and daily activities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Blink. The Power of Thinking Without Thinking by Malcolm Gladwell explores the concept of thin slicing, the ability of our unconscious to find patterns in situations and behavior based on very narrow slices of experience. Through a series of fascinating stories and case studies, Gladwell explains how and why we make snap judgments and the impact of these judgments in various aspects of our lives. Below is a detailed summary by chapters. Introduction: The Statue That Didn't Look Right. In the introduction section, Malcolm Gladwell sets the stage for his exploration of rapid cognition with the intriguing tale of a marble statue, an alleged Greek antiquity, that was considered for acquisition by the Getty Museum in the early 1980s. The statue, later known as the Kouros, was remarkable not only for its rarity, but also for the mystery surrounding its authenticity. Despite the statue coming with documentation that traced its history back to the early 20th century, a seemingly solid provenance, the museum took an extra step to verify its authenticity. Over 14 months, the Getty deployed scientific and legal examinations, from using electron microscopes to examine the surface, to conducting dolomite analysis for age estimation, and even checking the paperwork's legitimacy with legal and archaeological experts in Greece and Italy. All these tests suggested that the statue was indeed an authentic piece from the 6th century BC. However, when experts from the art world and historians first laid eyes on the Kouros, their immediate reactions were not of admiration, but of discomfort and skepticism. Evelyn Harrison, one of the first to see the statue, felt an intuitive sense that something was off the moment she saw it. Federico Zeri, upon noticing the Kouros in a catalog, was struck by the falseness of its stance. Thomas Hoving, the former director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, described his first impression of the sculpture as fresh, a term that ironically hinted at its actual newness, not ancient origin. These experts couldn't initially articulate why they felt the way they did. Their judgments were not the result of deliberate analysis, but of quick, unconscious reactions, a process Gladwell terms thin slicing. This ability to intuitively know something without knowing why is at the heart of Gladwell's investigation in Blink. Ultimately, the Kouros was revealed to be a forgery. The story of the Getty Kouros serves as a compelling introduction to the book's central themes: the power of the unconscious mind to find truth in a blink, and the critical awareness of when and how our instincts can lead us astray. Through this narrative, Gladwell invites readers to consider the complexity of our intuitive powers, their strengths, their fallibility, and their impact on our decision-making processes. Chapter 1: The Theory of Thin Slices. In this chapter, the author delves into the fascinating concept of thin slicing, a term he uses to describe our ability to infer meaningful conclusions from very limited slices of experience. This chapter underscores the remarkable capacity of the human unconscious to process small fragments of information and to make accurate judgments swiftly and efficiently. Gladwell exemplifies the power of thin slicing with a groundbreaking study conducted by psychologist Nalini Ambati. She and her team showed students 3 10-second video clips, without sound, of a teacher conducting a class. These students were then asked to rate the teacher's effectiveness based on these brief snippets. Remarkably, their evaluations closely aligned with those of students who had been taught by the same teacher for an entire semester. The experiment was further refined to show that even a single 10-second clip was sufficient for the students to form an accurate assessment of the teacher's effectiveness. The implications of Ambati's study are profound, suggesting that our unconscious minds are capable of picking up on subtle, nonverbal cues that indicate someone's competence, mood, and personality. This process of thin slicing enables us to make decisions quickly, an ability that likely evolved as a survival mechanism. In essence, thin slicing allows us to navigate the world efficiently, making rapid judgments that are often as accurate as those made through more deliberate and time-consuming processes. Gladwell expands on the idea by discussing its application in various fields beyond education. For example, he explores how thin slicing can be used in marriage counseling to predict with high accuracy which couples will stay together and which will divorce, based solely on brief observations of their interactions. This is possible because during these short observations, couples exhibit micro-expressions and nonverbal cues that reveal the true state of their relationship. However, Gladwell also cautions that while thin slicing is a powerful tool, it is not infallible. Our unconscious biases can lead to erroneous judgments, especially when they are influenced by stereotypes or when the situation is complex and requires more nuanced understanding. Thus, while embracing the power of thin slicing, we must also be aware of its limitations and the circumstances under which it may lead us astray. Through a blend of engaging anecdotes and scientific research, Chapter 1 of Blink not only introduces readers to the concept of thin slicing, but also invites them to appreciate the complexity and potency of the unconscious mind. Gladwell effectively sets the stage for a deeper exploration of the nuances of snap judgments and their impact on our lives, paving the way for a nuanced discussion about how to harness this innate ability while guarding against its pitfalls. Chapter 2. The Locked Door. This chapter dives deeper into the intricacies of the unconscious mind, particularly focusing on how it influences our snap judgments and decisions. Malcolm Gladwell uses compelling narratives and psychological insights to explore the idea that much of our decision-making process is hidden behind a locked door in our subconscious, operating beyond our conscious awareness. One of the central stories in this chapter is about a large-scale military simulation conducted by the Pentagon, known as the Millennium Challenge. The exercise was designed to test the United States military capabilities against a hypothetical rogue state. The scenario pitted a technologically superior U.S. force against an inferior but more agile and unpredictable enemy, led by retired Marine Corps General Paul Van Riper. Van Riper, playing the role of the enemy commander, was faced with the overwhelming technological and numerical superiority of the U.S. forces. Instead of succumbing to the pressure, he leveraged his intuition and decades of military experience to devise unconventional strategies. For example, he used motorcycle messengers and light signals to communicate between units, avoiding electronic communications that could be intercepted or jammed by the U.S. forces. He also launched a massive preemptive strike early in the simulation, catching the U.S. forces off guard and leading to a significant virtual loss for the U.S. side. Gladwell uses this scenario to illustrate the power of intuitive decision-making, especially in high-pressure situations where time for reflective thinking is limited. Van Riper's success in the war game was attributed to his ability to make quick, effective decisions based on his gut feelings and experience, rather than relying solely on analytical processes. This, Gladwell argues, is an example of the unconscious mind's ability to thin-slice complex situations, drawing upon a vast reservoir of experience and knowledge without the individual being fully aware of the thought process involved. However, the locked door also touches upon the limitations and potential pitfalls of relying too heavily on intuition. Gladwell cautions that while our unconscious is capable of remarkable feats, it can also lead us astray, particularly when it is influenced by prejudices, biases, or insufficient information. The challenge, then, is to understand when to trust our intuitive judgments and when to be wary of the conclusions drawn from behind the locked door of our subconscious. This chapter not only celebrates the power of the unconscious mind in enabling us to make quick, informed decisions, but also prompts a critical reflection on the mechanisms of our intuition. By examining the balance between intuition and analysis, Gladwell sets the stage for further exploration of how we can harness the strengths of our unconscious processing while mitigating its weaknesses. Chapter 3. The Warren Harding Error. In this chapter, the author shifts focus to explore the limitations and potential dangers of thin slicing, particularly highlighting how unconscious biases and prejudices can lead to flawed decision-making. This chapter is named after Warren G. Harding, the 29th President of the United States, whose election is presented as a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of relying solely on first impressions. Gladwell argues that Harding's rise to the presidency was largely due to his physical appearance and the aura of dignity and leadership he projected, rather than his actual qualifications or capabilities for the role. Harding, described as handsome and charismatic, fit the stereotypical image of what a president should look like to many people of his era. This perception influenced voters and political leaders alike, propelling him to the highest office in the country, despite his mediocre political record and lack of distinctive leadership qualities. His presidency, marked by numerous scandals and generally considered lackluster, serves as an example of the dark side of thin slicing, the ability of our unconscious biases to lead us astray. Gladwell uses the story of Harding to delve into the broader theme of how our snap judgments can be colored by prejudices and stereotypes. He discusses psychological research that demonstrates how people's judgments about others can be influenced by factors such as race, gender, and physical attractiveness, often without the judges being consciously aware of these influences. For instance, studies show that taller people are more likely to be perceived as leaders, and that attractive individuals are often judged to be more competent, regardless of their actual abilities. This chapter challenges readers to recognize and question their unconscious biases, suggesting that while thin slicing can be a powerful tool for decision-making, it can also be misleading if not critically examined. Gladwell argues for the need to be aware of the biases that influence our snap judgments, and to strive for a more objective and reflective approach in situations where these biases may lead to unfair or incorrect conclusions. The Warren Harding error serves as a critical examination of the potential negative consequences of our reliance on intuition and first impressions. It emphasizes the importance of developing a deeper awareness of our unconscious biases and working to mitigate their impact on our judgments and decisions. By doing so, Gladwell suggests, we can make better, more informed choices that are not clouded by superficial or prejudiced perceptions. Chapter 4. Paul Van Riper's Big Victory. This chapter revisits the Millennium Challenge, a massive war simulation conducted in 2002, which was introduced in Chapter 2. In this chapter, Malcolm Gladwell delves deeper into the strategies and mindset of retired Marine Corps General Paul Van Riper, who played the role of the adversary commander. Van Riper's unconventional tactics and reliance on intuition over technology led to a stunning upset in the early phase of the simulation, offering a vivid illustration of the themes central to Blink. The Millennium Challenge was designed to test new military concepts, integrating advanced technology and information superiority. The U.S. forces, equipped with state-of-the-art technology and a detailed plan, expected to easily dominate the exercise. In contrast, Van Riper, leading a technologically inferior fictional rogue state, was at a disadvantage in terms of conventional military metrics. However, Van Riper turned these constraints into opportunities by employing strategies that leveraged speed, surprise, and unconventional methods. For instance, he used motorcycle messengers and light signals to communicate orders, avoiding electronic communication that could be intercepted. He also launched a massive, unexpected attack early in the simulation, using a fleet of small boats loaded with explosives, which resulted in a significant defeat for the U.S. forces. Van Riper's success in the Millennium Challenge underscores several key insights. First, it demonstrates the power of agility and the ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. While the U.S. forces were burdened by their reliance on technology and a rigid command structure, Van Riper's approach was fluid and flexible, enabling him to outmaneuver a technically superior opponent. Second, the chapter highlights the importance of intuition and experience in decision-making. Van Riper's strategies were not the result of detailed analysis, but were based on his deep understanding of military tactics and his instinct for unconventional warfare. This approach allowed him to see opportunities that the opposing force missed, and to act decisively without waiting for exhaustive data analysis. Finally, Paul Van Riper's Big Victory serves as a cautionary tale about the limitations of over-reliance on technology and detailed planning in complex dynamic situations. It suggests that in such environments, the ability to think creatively and to react instinctively can be more valuable than the most sophisticated technologies or the most detailed plans. Through the story of the Millennium Challenge, Gladwell reinforces the book's central thesis about the power of thin slicing and the effectiveness of intuition-based decision-making in certain contexts. The chapter challenges readers to reconsider the value of intuition and agility, especially in situations that are too complex for traditional analysis to fully capture. Chapter 5. Kenna's Dilemma. This chapter explores the complexities and uncertainties within the music industry, particularly the difficulty in predicting what will become a mainstream success. Through the story of Kenna, a talented musician whose work was highly regarded by music industry insiders but failed to achieve significant commercial success, Malcolm Gladwell examines the limitations of expert judgment and the unpredictable nature of popular taste. Kenna's music, a unique blend of alternative rock and electronica, resonated with music executives, producers, and artists who saw him as a groundbreaking talent destined for stardom. Despite this, when it came to translating insider enthusiasm into broad commercial success, Kenna faced significant challenges. Record companies struggled to market his music, as it didn't fit neatly into the conventional genres that dominate radio playlists and consumer expectations. Furthermore, attempts to gauge potential audience interest through traditional market research methods, such as focus groups and test marketing, yielded mixed results, complicating efforts to launch his career on a large scale. Gladwell uses Kenna's story to highlight a broader issue in cultural markets, the difficulty of predicting hits. This challenge arises from the complex nature of human preferences and the social dynamics that influence popular tastes. Unlike in more objective fields, where expert judgments can often reliably predict outcomes based on measurable criteria, the subjective and socially influenced realm of music and other cultural products makes prediction far more uncertain. The chapter delves into the concept of cumulative advantage, or the idea that a song, artist, or product becomes popular largely because it is popular, a phenomenon that can make initial exposure and media attention crucial for success. In Kenna's case, the lack of a clear initial market segment and the difficulty in generating widespread media exposure hindered his ability to benefit from cumulative advantage. Kenna's dilemma serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of expertise and the challenges inherent in predicting cultural phenomena. Gladwell argues that while experts can provide valuable insights, their ability to forecast what will resonate with the broader public is limited by the unpredictable and often irrational nature of human preferences and social influences. Through this chapter, Gladwell invites readers to reconsider the value and limitations of expert opinions in fields driven by subjective tastes and to appreciate the complexity of cultural markets. The story of Kenna underscores the reality that success in these arenas often depends on factors beyond sheer talent or expert endorsement, challenging conventional notions of how hits are made and why certain products succeed while others falter. Chapter 6. 7 Seconds in the Bronx. This chapter delves into a harrowing incident, the tragic police shooting of Amadou Diallo, an unarmed African immigrant, by 4 New York City police officers in 1999. Malcolm Gladwell uses this case to explore how under certain conditions, the rapid unconscious judgments that are the focus of Blink can have devastating consequences. This chapter serves as a profound examination of the dark side of thin slicing, particularly how stress, fear, and environmental conditions can distort our snap judgments and lead to tragic errors. On that fateful night, the officers, part of an elite street crime unit tasked with aggressively targeting illegal guns, encountered Diallo standing in the vestibule of his apartment building. Mistaking his wallet for a gun, the officers fired 41 shots, 19 of which hit Diallo, leading to his death. The officers' decision to fire was made in a matter of seconds, a decision driven by their rapid interpretation of the situation as a deadly threat, a misinterpretation with fatal consequences. Gladwell argues that this tragic event is a stark illustration of how situational factors, such as the high-pressure environment of policing in crime-ridden areas, can exacerbate the flaws in our intuitive thinking. The stress and fear experienced by the officers amplified their innate predispositions toward misinterpreting Diallo's actions, leading them to perceive a threat where there was none. This incident highlights the critical role that external conditions play in shaping our snap judgments, often in ways that we are not consciously aware of. Furthermore, Gladwell discusses the concept of priming, the idea that our thoughts and behaviors can be influenced by subtle cues in our environment without our conscious realization. In high-stress situations like the one faced by the officers in the Bronx, these priming effects can lead to heightened suspicion and fear, making tragic misunderstandings more likely. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of training in helping individuals manage the influence of stress and fear on their decision-making processes. Gladwell suggests that by understanding the mechanisms behind our snap judgments, we can develop training programs that better prepare individuals to make accurate decisions under pressure, thereby reducing the likelihood of catastrophic errors. 7 Seconds in the Bronx is a sobering reminder of the potential consequences of relying too heavily on our intuitive judgments, especially in situations where the stakes are high and the potential for misinterpretation is significant. It underscores the need for awareness of the factors that can bias our unconscious reasoning and the importance of designing systems and training programs that mitigate these influences to prevent tragic outcomes. Through this chapter, Gladwell calls for a more nuanced understanding of the complexities of snap judgments and the conditions under which they can lead us astray. Listening with your eyes. In the concluding chapter, Gladwell wraps up by reinforcing the power and potential of thin slicing, while also acknowledging its limitations and the need for mindfulness to mitigate its negative impacts. He advocates for a balance between intuition and rational analysis, suggesting that the two can complement each other to improve decision-making. Blink is a thought-provoking exploration of the unconscious mind, urging readers to appreciate the complexity of snap judgments, while also being wary of their inherent biases and limitations. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Your support means the world to us. Click subscribe and hit the bell to be the first to enjoy our upcoming audiobooks. Together, let's continue this amazing journey through stories and tales.